Welcome back, everyone. UristMcSparks with you again. Now that we've learned about how the basics of racetrack design and construction, let's actually go about and start making our track. Now, as you'll see here, I've made just an empty place, and I have all the tools I need. I have all the track pieces, the extra little doodads. I've also included a car and a spawn location, so that I can test as I'm building it. Because I have a basic design sketched out on paper, but I don't know how it's actually going to drive. So I need to actually test it as I go. That's one of the key fundamentals parts of game design. So you always want to be trying out your game. If it doesn't feel right to you, it's definitely not going to feel right for your players. So I'm just going to start off with just the basic kind of the start line tile. And I'm just going to start working. So my design calls for a short straightaway at the beginning. And by the way, that's a neat little trick I did right there. If you need to rotate a piece quickly, just 90 degrees, you're holding it down while dragging, you can actually tap the R key. I'll spin it around in place. I'm going to be using that a lot in this lesson to be rotating pieces. I'm just going to be copying a lot. And from my experience, it's okay to start off kind of big, because you're driving actually pretty fast, much faster than a character can walk, so you can often traverse these distances pretty quickly. And maybe I'll add just one more, just kind of a really long start. I don't think I'll use a straightaway this long anywhere else in the level, but for now, I think that's good. Now we'll start with our first turn, just using the curved track piece. And don't worry about making everything too aligned at the beginning. I just want to make sure that my car can actually drive on it. In this first turn, as we discussed in the last lesson, I want this to start off pretty easy. I don't really need to challenge people right off the bat. So I'm going to make this very, very long, very wide turn so that people aren't already frustrated. And speaking of frustration, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get things just in the right place. And I'm also using some keyboard shortcuts to help me work a little bit faster. Because all these could be done with the mouse. You can copy and paste as I've been doing. I've been using Control C and Control V. Again, just to help speed up things. Again, using this R key to flip things around saves you a lot of time. And when you have a long track piece, I definitely recommend copying and pasting segments you've already made before. I'm also trying to make sure that the stripes are always alternating, but believe me, I made a lot of racetracks with these tools. At some point, you're going to have ones that don't line up correctly. It's not a big deal, you can always fix it again later. So I liking the way this is looking. Just going to put another piece in here. And it looks good for a starting turn. Again, it's going with that kind of asymmetrical look, so it gets a little bit harder as we go. And I'm going to take this opportunity just to test out the game. So a trick I found while designing is to just have a car and a spawn location. I can just drag anywhere on the map I want to test. So I hop in, away we go. And already this is feeling a little bit long. Everything's feeling a little bit large for my taste. I guess this is a very easy turn, but it does take a while. I think that's okay for the start. But I definitely want to keep this in mind for later segments of the track. Like, this is definitely a bit too long for any kind of normal segment of track. Any straightaway probably needs to be shorter. Even this first turn was pretty long. So let's keep going. I think we're just going to mix it up a little bit. Going to make a short turn here. Just again, you don't want to do too many straight segments. Get a little something there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as the car can drive on it, I think it's okay. Okay, I lied. I have to make sure it's perfect. Otherwise, this will be driving me completely nuts. Oh, and get in. There we go. Ah, well, that feels much better already. Okay. And we're just going to copy and paste some more. Get some more track segments. And lining them up just because that's the kind of person I am. Cannot live without that. And we'll just keep building our track. And again, I have this sketched out on paper. I kind of have a little bit of a spiraling design going on. But as I make a couple sections of track, I will pause, try it out, and keep going. Just gonna make this turn a little bit longer, kind of varying up the difficulty, making sure it's not too quick and hard, like a sharp turn like that. And at this point, as I was drawing, I was realizing that it's been a little bit static, not very exciting at the moment. So I want to add a little bit, I want to go into the elevation now. So until now we've just been kind of sticking to the ground, and we really don't have to. And I really like the look of these ramps, and so I want to start playing around with that, seeing what we can do. I'm just making a little elevated section of track here. And again, have to make sure everything's perfect. This is just me. I do not suggest that you have to make sure everything is quite as perfectly aligned in your first draft as this. And after this ramp, I know that the car is going to be moving slowly just because it just can't go very fast after an upward slope like that. So I can actually afford to make a fairly tight turn afterwards. Normally we can't do too sharp a turn, as you know, because we don't want to make it too hard on the player. Like normally if this was after a really long straightaway, even with some boost perhaps, just a really short turn like that, probably be pretty tough. But we know the car is going to be moving slowly, so this is more realistic. And we should even try that out, make sure that my suspicion is correct. Intuitively it makes sense to me, but you always want to be trying it out. So let's put the car there in place. Hop in. And we're going kind of slowly up the ramp. Yeah, that wasn't so bad. Might have been harder if we were going down a ramp or had some boosts, but I think that's feeling pretty good. Again, you always want to be trying this out. And we just want to make sure we're not being too static. So we're just making turns. This one I'm going to make just slightly longer. My plan is to have this actually loop all the way back around again. Because at this point we're getting really far from the start line. And I do want to make sure that the track isn't too long. Because keep in mind, it's very easy to go, I've found, to go overboard with a track and make it way too long. That really depends on your game. For this particular Roblox racing that I'm making, I intend only for one lap to determine the victor. So I think it's okay for the lap to be a little bit longer. But if you decide to expand on your own racing game, you may want to consider a shorter track if they're going to be a quick circuit, like if you need to win 3 laps to win, then you should probably make your track maybe not as long. All depends on how long you want the gameplay to be. Because the track will definitely directly affect how long it takes. And I know I said I wasn't going to make everything too perfect, but something's going on here. May have to use the move tool. So this is a good point when you're moving things around. Sometimes things aren't going to get exactly where you want them. That's why I recommend using the move tool to really force things into place. Sometimes when you're dragging, things are just a little bit off. With the move tool, you have explicit direction over where the part's going. You can say you want to move things exclusively along one axis or another. And that can help out a lot when things just aren't getting into place quite right with the regular dragger. There we go. Oh, much better. Okay, good enough. We can always tidy that up later. Scoot you over just one more. Okay. Let's keep going. And I'm going to pause at this point. So I'm actually going to have this track loop around and get back down to the ground level. We'll see how that's feeling. Once I finish this circuit, we'll give it a little bit of a test. Just going to make sure that we have a decent enough turn. This will actually be, this looks pretty sharp, so I definitely want to test that out, see if that feels right. Oop. Come back here, there we go. And again, later I'll probably tidy up things like this, make sure the stripes alternate correctly. But the point of this right now isn't to make sure that the game is perfect and looks beautiful. It's really nice, and it helps when things click into place perfectly. But the goal right now is we want to make sure that the track drives well. So I'll need to replace this with, I believe, one of these parts is my tunnel. No? I have to go over there and take a look. And, okay, here we go. Copy and paste you. Neat trick in Studio, if you need to see something far away, you have it selected, you just click on it, use the select tool, press the F key, that'll focus on it. It's a really convenient way of traveling far across the map, because as you can tell, this is getting pretty big, and having to move manually with the camera can take some time. I'm just going to turn this into position. Slide it in. There we go. A nice little tunnel. This looks pretty cool, so I'm going to try this out. I'm just hopping into the car. Yeah. Oop. I would never claim that I'm the best Roblox driver. But I managed to make it through that turn. I imagine a much more skilled player would have an easier time. So tight turn. Yeah, it's feeling pretty good. Do think though, if we're going to be moving this far, so it looks like we got a lot of ground to cover, might actually start incorporating the boost tiles. Because when you're designing your track, you want to design them with things like speed boosts in place. Because it's much easier to design your track with those planned in from the beginning. Because otherwise, if you try to add them later, you may have to redesign your whole track if they don't feel right. You want to use these fairly often because they're exciting. They're an interesting part of the course. So I think I want to get all the way back over here. I think I'm going to have another bridge. I think I want to put the bridge over this tile, so I'm just going to put one there now, just so I know where I'm working towards. Oh, I need to rotate it. That's not how the bridge works. There we go. So we'll go over the track at this juncture. Oof. And just be patient too, because sometimes if you're like me and you're really worried about getting things to line up correctly, it may take some time, and that's okay. We'll just need a little bit of a turn here. I think this seems reasonable. Oh, and that needs to not be a straight piece, that needs to be an actual ramp. Yeah, and I'm not sure how this is going to feel coming out of a turn going uphill immediately. So I think I might just want to test it out. So I'm just going to grab my car. Ooh, have it disappear. My car in my spawn location. There we go. We'll see how it feels. Actually, we'll even see how it feels with these boost tiles. See if we get the speed that we want coming out of that, coming off this hill. Go down. It's feeling okay. Oop. Again, I'm by no means a very good Roblox driver. I think that's looking good. In the last video we saw some interesting turnstiles. I'm going to try using them in this. Except I'm going to make this elevated instead of on the ground, as we saw last time. I actually think this segment would be better if it was shorter turns. So I'm just going to whip these turns together real fast. And using copy and paste very liberally. There's no reason to redo things if you don't have to. Unfortunately, we do have to be able to drive over this, and if there's big gaps in the road, you won't get the authentic feeling for how it drives. There we go. And maybe one more turn like this. It's looking pretty nice. So right now we've been making a sort of generic course. I would like to use some of our fancy elements. We should end with something dramatic. So I'm going to end with the jump over my lava tile. And we'll have a little segment of road to land on, and we'll be back at the starting line. We have more or less a complete course. I think I haven't been really using boost tiles too much. So we're going to test drive, I think from here, this is about the last place we drove, and see if there's any places where we can get away with some more speed ups. So we're going pretty fast there. It's feeling good. I think I might make that turn a little bit sooner because we're just driving straight for a little bit and that's not super exciting. I think we need a boost up here because we're going right into these turns, which are actually proving to be very difficult for me. So hopefully it will be a little bit challenging for a normal player. Getting tough right towards the end. And we come around this last turn. I'm ready for the boost. And over we go. I think that's a pretty nice way to finish. And this is probably one of the most important parts of map design, level design, and whether you're making a racing game, a shooter, tactics game, anything. Don't be afraid to edit your level. Because that's really the key that you have to get from testing is trying it out, seeing if it works. Let's drive it again. See how it goes. That's a lot nicer. Might even add some speed boost along this stretch, just to give it a little bit more interest there. We'll have to use our rotate tool. And again, you don't want to ever just add something just to add it and not try it out. Let's see how this goes. Ooh! And so it's nice. You do want to add challenge. Just because I can't do it doesn't mean a player can't. And you know, we want people to get better at the game as they go. One last thing I think I'll add, a little bit more challenge right after here. I'm going to add some of these oil tiles. Just to give people a little bit of hazard. I have to be very careful. Ooh, yeah, that's kind of tricky. That's good. And then, just because I can't resist, over we go. Oh, didn't hit it very well. Oh, them's the sad facts of life. Sometimes you just can't make the jump. But I think this is a good start. We don't have time to keep editing and tweaking all day. You would just sit here for hours watching me work on this. But this is the approach to making a racetrack. You want to try things out. You need to be comfortable cutting things out if they don't work. And just experimenting around. So I encourage you to make your own racetrack and try to make it a complete circuit if you can. It doesn't have to be, you could have a start and end line elsewhere. But these are the techniques I recommend using when you're making your own racing game, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can come up with. So that'll be all for this week, but please check in next week. We're going to have more lessons. We're going to more fully flesh this game out, and we're going to actually start learning how to script. And we're going to start from the very basics. Trust me, you don't have to know anything about scripting beforehand. We're going to start nice and easy. Get used to code. Make it not so scary, because you can do a lot with programming, and we can really make this game come alive. But for now, this has been UristMcSparks with Roblox. Thanks for watching, and remember, you make the game.